Good Monday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. An absolute pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love CVille Network, a network that literally is growing in size every single day. We are live in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. We're presented by Keller Williams Alliance and yes, Realty Partners. And if you look at the screen, you will see the brands that you can count on to get you to the closing table and help you make your real estate dreams a reality. Today's show is live on every single social media platform known to mankind. It's archived wherever you get your podcast and on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Judah Wickower is our director. If we can go to the studio camera and welcome our panel of experts, Nikki Chambless and Keith Smith. Friends, good Monday morning.
Good Monday morning.
Hello,
good Monday.
morning,
We
yes.
got to see each other twice this weekend.
Great.
Yesterday when you were playing music at Cunningham Creek Vineyard.
Yes.
Where is that?
Lovely place. Oh gosh.
Fluvanna County.
Yes, but it's just like south of the lake area, in between the lake and Scottsville.
Okay.
It's wonderfully located. It's very easy to get to.
Okay.
Technically, it's called Cunningham, is the district.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Fairchild's?
You're talking about district. It is
Yeah.
Fairchild's district.
Yeah,
100%.
Chris Fairchild, our boy.
Yeah, I just was texting him this morning. He's in the woods killing helpless animals.
Okay, Chris deserves it. Man works hard running a national company.
He works very hard, but I'm sure that he's probably. I used to run a lot of marathons with him when I was running, and it never ceased to amaze me as and if you could tag him, we're talking about him. I'd appreciate it.
I'll tag him right now.
Right, literally, we were running marathons, and he would actually do business on the phone. So.
That doesn't surprise me.
That does not surprise anybody. That is very Chris Fairchild.
That is so wonderfully extra.
Yeah, the Board of Supervisors, the talented one from Fluvanna County. Chris, we love you on this
let's not
program.
call him talented.
I mean, I'm impressed with him.
Yeah.
Friend of the program.
Yeah. I've known him for 30-something years. We tend to bust each other's proverbial, you know what.
I love it.
On a
And
regular
when he
basis.
comes here, he likes to champion Fluvanna County.
Yep.
He likes to enjoy some spirits from over there and have a good time on the talk show.
Amen.
Awesome.
So, Nikki, how you doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, I'm excited about the week and
Cool.
getting into the rest of this year. Doing a lot of looking toward next year, right? I think we're all doing that.
Planning
Planning for next
planning.
year, considering the market next year, finishing final touches on business plans, right? 'Tis the season.
We got the same eyeglasses. See the green inlay on
I
that?
like that.
Look at that.
I know, we're matchy-matchy.
Matchy.
Now you just gotta wear a
Got
blue
blue
dress.
shirt
Oh,
and everything. We
oh
must
my
have got the
gosh.
memo today.
I never imagined you
So,
would. Thanks, Steve.
anything exciting happened over the weekend with your team of agents
Oh,
that report
gosh.
in?
Over the weekend itself, I think people were business as usual, right? That tis the season, even with holidays coming up. That's, I'm sure some of us are thinking about Christmas, others are not, or holidays in general, or turkey versus chicken versus whatever. But also as far as business goes, it's the day-to-day. Truly, I think the biggest aspect right now is that business plan for next year, and whether agents are looking at an official business plan or not, they're considering next year and, okay, what did I do this last year and the year before, and what is next year looking like, and what do I need to do to be able to serve clients just as well, if not better, right? I think that's kind of where we're all thinking right now.
And I know on at least our team, that's what we're doing. Actually, on Wednesday, we've got a
Yeah.
budget planning session to help everybody kind of plan. But it's interesting. I don't know. I think I'm not so sure there's going to be a slowdown around Christmas. I may be wrong. What do you think?
I feel like we're getting a little bit of the seasonality back, but not like it used to be, Like, we're feeling some seasonality, and after the last 2 years, like, any moment to breathe feels like seasonality.
Well,
But we're definitely getting a little bit.
A little late in the show, I want to talk.
Yeah.
I was chatting with a couple of closers last week and what their tempo was. But we like to start off the show with the week over weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the
Let's
week
take a
over
look.
week for the car footprint. And we've got 64 homes that came on the market 7 days going back. 83 went in pending. But interesting, the same week in September, 103 came on, 84 went pending. So more came on than pending. And the same week last month was 79 came on and 56 went pending. In the last 3 just those 1 week snapshots in the last 3 months, that's a pretty big switch, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think's going on there?
Well, I do think part of it's the seasonality. Part of it is the interest rate, right? It's
Obviously.
right. It definitely, of course.
It's definitely the interest rate.
But I will say, so
But
a lot of agents
but
are.
the pendings are up.
My page is blowing up right now.
Yeah.
Neil
Nice.
Williamson and John Blair, welcome to the program. We'll get to these questions. It's obviously the
Well,
interest
but
rate.
you say obviously, but I will say, in talking with agents who are out there producing high producers, what's happening is some people are stepping back because of interest rates. Other people are stepping forward that had stepped back before because they were tired of the chaos that it was. So
What's
they're
that
having
mean?
a bit of an exchange. So certain clients are like, hey, you know what? I'm taking a break now.
I'm sure you're talking into that mic.
Some of the clients who had stepped back before and were like, hey, I want to take a break, are in a position where the interest rate doesn't impact them as much. So now they're like, okay, now it's my turn.
So this is an
Well, if the interest rate doesn't impact them as much, that's called cash.
No, not at all.
He was talking about this weekend. How many deals did you lose to all cash buyers?
3.
Yeah,
There-
that's what's
there's
happening
a lot
now.
of that, but
Yeah.
I'm saying in what the situations that I'm referring to, though, it's not always cash. Sometimes it's people who really just got tired of, playing the real estate game for that time that it was, and they're like, okay, I'm ready now.
So I'm going to add a bit of a different pivot to this. So last week I spoke to 12 different closers. At Closure Title, Charlottesville Settlement, and Bill Tucker's office, and said, what's the temperature at the table, right? And because I wanted to understand, because the last couple of weeks, the pendings have been much higher than the market's coming on. I think cash has a lot to do with that.
No doubt.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the reason I want to talk to the closers, because those are loan deals, right? They're typically loan deals on that. That doesn't mean it isn't cash, but they're typically loan.
I'm following the neighborhoods I follow here. Cash is dominating.
yeah.
I mean, like, who's going to take, if you have a cash position, who's going to go and jump into a 7.3%, 7.4% mortgage?
But yeah, no, there's no reason to. Or maybe there is,
I mean,
but
that's more than
that's
a
not
car
the
loan.
usual thing, right?
Yeah.
But the average conversation that's been happening at the closing table, again, just my simple sample, it's 12 folks. It's no way technical or a great statistical analysis, but I thought it was interesting. The number one, because I asked him, I said, what's the number one question the first-time home buyer, because that's what I wanted to focus on, is asking you? And the first question, the repetitive question they're asking is, okay, there is no prepayment penalty, right? There is no prepayment penalty. So the mindset of the buyer, at least with this little sample, is that they've got in their head they're going to refinance in a couple of years.
But it's important to emphasize this, and this phrase, frankly, irritates me, is marry the house, date the rate. It irritates me. You know why that
Tell me
irritates
more about it. Yeah.
It's
Why?
because when you refinance, you're getting popped twice.
From closing costs, absolutely.
You're getting
It's
closing
not the
costs.
same, though,
Yeah.
and you're saving. You're only going to do that if that's a smart decision.
You're getting points. What's the closing cost on a refinance? 2 to
That's-
3 points?
Anywhere between 1 and 3. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
I mean, so if 1 and 3 in a refinance at a $500K home, you're talking about $12,000 to $15,000.
Well, I will say some of the local lenders right now are telling people, hey, if you're buying now and the rates drop and you're ready to refi, and I don't know the exact
it's a
specifics of
2-1.
this,
It's
right?
a 2-1 deal.
Then they are giving a discount on those closing costs or
To
helping
what?
cover
They're
it.
giving them a half a point
I
discount?
have no idea, but
I mean, you're still
anything's better.
talking like a 5-figure transaction here.
Yes, but how much is that drop in interest rate saving you over, I don't know, 25 years of a mortgage?
So
25 years?
If you're getting a 30-year mortgage, let's
Oh,
say 5 years in is when you've got 25 years left.
But the average person stays in a home 10 years.
no, whoa. And now I have some new data for
Wait,
that.
is it 11?
No, it's you'll be surprised. So the 2022 Profile Home Buyers and Sellers report came out. So this is important. This is from June of 21 to July of 22, right? And they've been doing this since 1981. Two things that, and it's 150 pages, 47 pages. So I'm still reading through it. I'll read from it. Unfortunately, the share of the first-time home buyers shrunk to the smallest share since data collection in the profile of the home buyer. So since 1981, the first-time home buyers shrunk down to 26%. I don't have last year's on it, but I believe it was in the 38% range. It's probably close to 10% down. Interesting question. So what happens is Asperian asks these questions at closing. Expected length of tenure in home pet purchase is broken down by first-time home buyer, repeat buyers, new homes. First-time home buyers, they're expecting to stay in their home for 18 years. They're expecting to stay in their home for 18 years.
I just find that laughable. Like, who can project they're going to be doing something for 18 years?
Well,
Can't very well.
The
Yeah.
point I think that's going on, and the repeat buyers are 15, previous own homes is 15, so the median is 15 years. 15 years on that. I think what's happening, it's the psychology of it that's going on, right? People are just going, well, I'm just going to buy my house and stay in it. I think when the next report comes out in March or April of next year, when the actual data comes out, like what is the actual, I think you'll be closer to 10 to 12 years people are staying in the homes.
What do you think about that, Nikki?
So I think I'm wondering what our data specifically for our areas, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm thinking if we're looking at our area and we're guesstimating an average of 7 to 10 years or maybe a little more, we are also in an area where people move quickly. So that means a lot of people really are staying in their homes longer. I know I live in a neighborhood where until the last couple of years, people had stayed in place for quite some time. The Willoughby neighborhood did not have a lot of transition until the last couple of years when our market value finally popped up. It had kind of been a little micro market bubble for quite some time. So I mean, you've got people who really do stay in place. They find the area they want to raise their kids, and their goal really is to not move until that next life change. So I think there's a little balance to be had there. I think for a decent amount of people, the marry the house, date the rate will be beneficial, but it definitely does not apply to everybody.
I think we need to stipulate this. When we say marry the house, date the rate, when you're refinancing, you're going to get popped at a 5-figure charge when you refinance.
You and I are on the same wavelength.
Okay.
I've never liked that, and at the moment, since I'm still the executive producer, we probably will say that's not allowed on Realty.
It's disingenuous.
I think disallowing things like that is kind of special.
Well, what it does is you've got to explain what it means.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you've got to explain.
You're literally going to get charged. What's the median price of a home in Albemarle County?
Oh, I'd have to look.
470 some. It's like 470 some. If you even get a half-point discount, say your closing costs on 470K are 2%. You're talking about $9,400.
And so we've had this discussion on previous
compared to what
shows.
you're going to save on interest.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing.
And then here's another thing is, what if the rate doesn't move?
Yeah.
What if the rate doesn't come down next year?
Okay,
Or what if the rate doesn't come down the following year?
Yeah, so you're not going to buy a house not being able to stay in it with the rate. You're not planning on, oh my God, I can't stay here if the rate doesn't go up, right? If you buy now and the rate doesn't go up, okay, then you didn't buy at a bad time. If you buy, or it doesn't go down, wrong words. But if you buy now and the rate does go down, then you have an opportunity there. You do some math and you figure things out.
I need to stand corrected. So last year was 34%. This year is 26%. This is national now. This is the first-time home buyers. It wasn't quite 10% drop, but it was worth noting that it dropped.
I mean, it's I don't know. I'm all for people saving money, but please realize the marry the house, date the rate means you're going to get closing costs twice.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's closing costs twice, and you have to do the math. And this is why when you and I talked about this, I believe it was Scott. Scott hated that phrase, without a doubt. But
and he's in the mortgage business.
And I usually counsel clients that you want to pick up a 2% spread, right? That's where the math starts.
And who can predict a 2% reduction in mortgage rates?
Well, I think Mr. Morris thinks that that'll happen the end of next year. I don't know. We shall see.
We shall see. Exactly. We shall see.
Anyway, there is a bunch of great data in here that I'm going to be spitting out in some future shows, because some of the stuff is they talk about why folks bought and the reasons, but I'm still reading through it. I'm not even 20 pages into the 147.
And we're talking about the national view, right?
This is national.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is not local. The week-over-week stuff is very local, right?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
This is very local.
Yes.
There was the same week 2 months going back, there was more coming on than going off, and then all of a sudden, the last couple of weeks, because we've been tracking it, is that more have been going into pending than coming onto the market. And, but the volume is dropping, right? 2 months ago, it was 103 units. Today, it's 64.
Jamie Turner makes the great spot. This is exactly my point. See, the viewers and listeners are entirely too sophisticated, and they see through this stuff.
But that's not seeing through. You're underestimating the viewers by assuming that they're not understanding what it means.
Jamie Turner says, and then what if the values go down? When you
values of what, your house?
Won't you have negative equity when you refinance?
Well, okay, so now we're playing hypothetical what ifs without anything behind it.
With the mortgage rates dropping.
No, then we're evaluating possible futures, right? I don't care about this statement. I do care about some of the specifics that you're saying that without something behind them might not be accurate, right? So when we're talking about the what if it goes down.
Thank you, Grayson. I agree with what you just said here as well. Go ahead.
No, what did Grayson say? Go for it.
He says, Jerry's exactly right. Who's going to plan for a refinance when you don't know where the mortgage rates are going to be, and then you're going to have to pay 5 figures out of pocket down the road? That's like 4 or 5 mortgage payments. It's not quite 4 or 5, but it's probably going to be 3 or 4.
So, first, no one's buying a house with the intention of, oh my God, I have to refinance. I feel like that alone is the lost point. Is it not? No one's going to buy a house only if they can keep it if they have to refinance. That conversation started because people were like, do I buy now? Do I buy later? We can toss the whole phrase out the window and it doesn't matter. But there's still a conversation around it of what the future looks like.
The essence of marry the house, date the rate is that you're going to go refinance the house.
No, the essence, when Amanda first introduced it, the whole conversation that happened around that, there were 2 parts of that, okay? If the rates go up, then you've bought at a good rate, and that's great. If the rates go down, then you can refinance. There was no conversation that was, oh my God, buy now because you can refinance later. That was not what it was, and that is how you're presenting it today. That may be what other people are having. I'm only going from my experience on this show.
Yeah, so it's...
Kevin Yancey, you guys are... Nikki, you're playing hypotheticals about rates. They aren't given. We don't know where they're going to be.
Well, nobody knows where they're going to be. I'll just
That's a given.
Yeah, I'll just throw this out. And those who watch the show know the first time we bought a house, it was at 18%.
Yes.
And refinanced it several different times because the math just worked out, right?
Yes.
I was able to, with closing costs, and it started dropping down on that. So, I'm confident that the rates are going to go down. They typically do as soon as everybody says we're in a recession. We've talked about this a couple of times. But look, when you dig into this report, and I just went through it, most of the people bought because of life changes. So life changes happen, right? And you're going to have to buy. But what I was hoping we get into is a little bit of come on, help me out, Jerry. Examples, right?
Case
studies.
Thank you,
Totally.
Thank you on that. But
We've
interesting.
been rocking that really well.
Excuse
That's
me?
awesome. We've been rocking that really well.
Yeah.
The viewers are amazing.
Yeah. So I was just flipping through some stuff.
You got
Freddie
more
Mac.
comments than I can think of saying that the refinance plan is selling air castles, that it's just not good business. It's buying a house with the concept of refinancing. Here's Spencer buying the house with the concept of refinancing when rates drop, when they do drop, if they do drop, is not how I would buy. It's all over here.
I get it. And
Eddie
what I'm
Moreno,
saying is I
hello.
think maybe
But-
that was taken out of the initial conversation that happened on this show was not the way that you just presented it this morning, right?
Well, people need to buy, and if they need to buy, this is the possible solution. But I'm just looking at this is from Freddie Mac. 1980 recession went down 4.25. 81 recession went down 5 points. This is 30-year mortgage. 91 went down 2.5. 2001. Not quite a point, 0.625. 08, 1.125. In 20, it went down a point. I've always been a belief, though, you've got to pick up about 2 points in order for this to make. So if you're at 7% now,
It's got to go to 5.
It's got to go to 5.
That's aggressive.
That
And
is
then we also have to factor
Yeah.
this in. This is another thing important to factor in. If you're going to have closing costs when you do refinance, are you going to pay those out of pocket during a recession when your disposable income is already stretched? Or are you going to roll
Roll
that
them in.
into over the course of a new loan, extending your loan and your monthly payments?
I don't think extending your loan is the only option there. And you're
The
right,
two
those
are upfront,
options. Yeah,
Pay or roll it into your loan.
totally. No, I'm just saying, I don't think you have to extend to get, depending on the loan package, right? But you're right, those are definitely what you're looking at.
So let's talk
who's
about-
going to do a 5-figure upfront
So
payment
let's
during a
talk-
recession?
So let's talk about the first home buyers I'm working with.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at another stat here from the census about the asking rents and how they're climbing, right? We've all agreed on the show rents are going up. They're going up pretty quickly. I have at least a half a dozen first-time home buyers I'm trying to find homes for because the rents are going up. And now the delta between the rent and the 7% mortgage rate is not quite what it was this time last year, but they're in life changes scenario because guess what? Every one of their landlords are doing, Jerry? Take a guess what they're
Yeah,
doing.
of course, they're raising rents.
No,
What's that?
they're selling their houses.
The landlords I know are around Charlottesville are not selling their houses. They're raising their rents.
These 12 I'm working with, every single one of them now, according to them, that their landlord is selling their house. These are single-family detached houses.
Why would someone sell a home when they can raise rents?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know we're holding on to our one little one, that's for
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you're
rents
holding
are,
on
Oh,
yours.
heck yeah.
rents are increasing 5 to 10% year over. I don't know. I mean, to each their own.
Well, I'm just looking at the median asking rent since 1988, and I'll. All you got to do is look at that.
Yeah,
look at
look at that.
All you got to do is look at that chart. Jude, if you wouldn't mind catching that.
That's the rents right there.
That's the rents.
Yeah.
So that's going from 88, a little south of $350 to $1,400, and this is national. I think the number's a little bit higher.
When our
higher
area has always had, well, I don't know about always, but from the time that I moved here, rents were a little higher just due to the nature of having the student population we have, right?
Absolutely.
That impacts
and-
things greatly.
And not enough inventory.
Yes, definitely.
And a
No.
coveted place to live.
Yeah. No, when I
And-
first moved here, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, but I was also competing with, 4 students living in a 4-bedroom house that could pay, $5,000 to $1,000 each
Which
or more.
technically is illegal.
Is very
Yes.
much so.
Yeah.
Depends
You're not
on-
supposed to have any more than 4.
Yeah. That's
Unrelated-
illegal.
Unrelated folks in the city of Charlottesville.
Right. Because you know what that's called if you do that?
Illegal.
Exactly.
What else is it called? I feel like you've got another word going.
It's
No, was that it?
It would be called a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like
I didn't know where that was going,
illegal
but
work.
yeah, I
Look,
guess that
illegal.
makes
Called a
sense,
hotel.
right?
But
And you're
look-
not paying lodging taxes.
But
Yeah.
look,
You
this
definitely
is
need to be if you're a hotel.
this is just markedly getting worse and worse, right? You use the word inventory, and this inventory situation is just getting worse. It's getting so even though the ratio of units coming on versus pending has flipped, the volume. I've been thumbing through my phone because I keep a track of these week over weeks for years. They're just decreasing. The volume of units coming on the market, it's just decreasing week over week. So we've got inventory decreasing. Developers aren't building anymore. Jurisdictions aren't approving anything very quickly.
Dirt's extremely expensive.
Dirt's extremely
Labor's
expensive.
Yeah.
impossible to find.
Labor's
Cost
impossible.
of goods are through the roof.
Cost of goods are through the roof.
Floating debt is making construction and specs expensive.
Mortgage rates are high.
Yeah.
And
First-time home buyers
and there
are out
are-
of the market.
well, that's the reason it dropped from. That
I mean, I just said a
8%.
thread about this last night with John Blair. I
And-
rattled off 17 points on the thread. You want me to rattle those off?
And then, hold on one second.
Yeah.
And then the first-time home buyers competing against cash buyers.
Literally my thread.
And it's. I got my daughter texting me from Seattle.
Baby boomers are downsizing from larger homes to smaller ones.
Yeah.
Credit card debt is at an all-time high. Student loan debt is cumbersome.
Yes.
Inflation is rampant. Down payments are back to 20%. Local jurisdictions are raising real estate tax rates to make up for sagging meals, retail, and lodging taxes. This is my Twitter thread right here. Increased real estate tax rates will further gentrify communities and push financially marginal homeowners into selling, downsizing, and renting. All cash buyers, all cash investors, and 20% down payment buyers will gain even more leverage to dictate the home ownership ecosystem. I mean, this is a crisis. This is a crisis that we are in.
And I'm trying to buzz through 142 pages right here because there was a very interesting chart in here about what the buyers are buying, and it's interesting. This is the first time I've seen this where they broke it down into first-time home buyers, repeat buyers, and then my age.
You know what's something that's not being talked about that I was thinking about this over in a neighborhood cocktail with folks that were in the banking business. They said that all the push for pursuing millennials and Gen Zers in y'all's line of work, the real estate game, is now pursuing baby boomers.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
That the millennial is no longer the go-to client for your game.
So there's two huge seminal reports that NAR does. This is this one, which is the profile. The next one that's going to come out in the first quarter of next year is the generational buyers, which is going to take a deep dive of that. But in this report are some basic inklings of what those numbers are going to be. And the reality of it is when there's a 9% drop in first-time homebuyers, and oh, by the way, the age of the first-time homebuyer, I've got to dig this up, has gone up almost by 8 or 9 years, year over year, somewhere in the 39 age group. Let's talk about first-time homebuyers for a second. One of the misconceptions, I actually had this conversation with a client at the kitchen table last night, yesterday afternoon, after we seen Nikki at Cunningham Creek. They're going to list their home and buy their home, young couple, all this stuff. And they go, well, we've already used first-time buyer programs because this home we bought was first buyer. I said, well, how long have you been in the house? 5 years. I said, guess what? You're now a first-time home buyer. It's over 3 years. Then you're in it. And she was very surprised, or they were very surprised they were considered first-time home buyers. So me, being in my house for 20 years, if I go out and buy something, I'm considered a first-time home buyer, which may skew some of these numbers. I haven't really taken back of the envelope, look at this back of the data envelope, what the actual age is on that. But technically, Yonna and I, we go buy again, we are technically first-time home buyers.
What's the threshold?
3 years. That's very misleading, right?
That sounds like recession, no recession, shell game.
Yeah, we call it something else, don't we?
Rebranding?
We rebranded it. We rebranded recession. Nikki, jump in.
I was just looking up something really quick, and the challenge here is I'm not seeing where it says what the definition of the data is, but it's a 2022 NAR home buyer and seller generational trends that you were referring to.
That's last year's.
Yeah, but it's the from 2021, right? So it'll be interesting to take a look at 2021 versus what's going to be published in the first quarter of next year. Because like you were referring to, Jerry, it does show, millennials, and they have actually broke down the millennials into two groups, older Gen Y and younger Gen Y, definitely are the majority of, especially the buyers, whereas the sellers are Gen X and the younger boomers, because they also broke down the boomer category into younger and older. So it'll be really interesting to compare that year over year. Like we definitely need to have that. I don't know what month of that first quarter this gets published, but on one of the shows next year, take a look and see.
Yeah, we usually tackle that every year, and I apologize, everybody. I'm trying to find this
I know you're looking.
data on the square footage because
these bankers were saying this, that the marketing should pivot and pursue boomers and not millennials
For
and
buyers.
Gen Zers for
Well,
buyers.
Yeah.
that's who's buying right now, right? And as I said, these 3 deals I lost this weekend were all cash. We were actually representing buyers. They're all divorcees. They're combining households. They have to sell. All these 3 buyers are exactly
And that's why they said it.
They've got to sell one house before they can buy, and they lost out because we lost 3 deals all to cash.
Yes.
No contingencies, 0 contingencies. So it's really depends on what we're doing here.
And sometimes it varies, I think, weekend to weekend. Sometimes you can find the right house on the right time and make an offer that has a home sale contingency, and you go under contract, and that's great. because you just happen to pick the weekend that someone else that's a cash buyer didn't come in and take a look, right?
Size
there
of
are
homes
those
purchased, first-time
variations
repeat
on it.
buyers and buyers of new and previously owned. So they broke it down a little bit different this year. All buyers, medium square footage is 1,800. First-time home buyers, median 1,550. Repeat buyers is 1,880. New homes are 2,000, and previously owned homes are 1,800. But it's interesting when I start taking a look at the square footage numbers breakdown. They go from 1,000 less up to 3,000. The two largest numbers are between 15 and 2,000 and 2,000 and 2,500, and those are typically the repeat buyers in the new home. So the repeat buyers are definitely us, right? The boomers.
The boomers.
Looking
Because
to
you guys
go
have
in.
massive equity positions and or no debt.
It's interesting. Our youngest daughter sent me an article, and I'm going to get myself into trouble. You should tag her.
Love how he's just helping that trouble create.
Yeah, she sent me an article and called me yesterday and asked me this question. So, Daddy, how do you feel about the conflict in the housing market between the boomers and the millennials? And I said, explain that to me. So what do you mean by that? Well, the millennials are pissed at the boomers because the boomers are basically buying the stuff they're trying to buy. And she's speaking from a very personal perspective because we're trying to help them buy in Richmond.
And you said that's called capitalism, sweetheart.
Last time I checked, we're not living under a communist system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
I didn't say that. I said, honey, we need to be a little patient, right? And we start looking, and the right house will come. I will tell you, and I really truly mean this, sometimes you got to lose a couple, and they find one that they love.
Yeah.
And this kind of happens on that end of it, but it was very interesting, that conversation. She was also busting my chops, too.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that in there, Jerry.
What do you think, Nikki?
She
feels
watched
a
the
lot.
show on Friday, and she just continued that whole busting the chops.
Friday was a great show.
It was a great show.
Feels a lot like, seeing that 60 or 70 something Stingray Corvette go by. And then, yeah, of course it's an older couple in it because that's where they are in life and living it
'cause
up
they
and
can
enjoying
afford
it.
it.
Yeah.
They can afford
And
it.
it's not that younger people can't afford things, but generally speaking, we're in our hustle and it's just a different stage in life. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what she was asking about related to houses.
I think the younger folks can afford things. It's just the younger folks are going to have a difficult time competing with boomers who have homes already on their balance sheets
Yeah.
that are paid off and no mortgages on them, and then they can sell those homes and walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars and buy other things. It's funny how the marketing has changed. Because 18 months ago, 24 months ago, it was own the millennial category.
Well,
Now, not so much.
so what's going to happen tomorrow is about the economy stupid, and
He's
always
talking the election.
always follow the money, right? And that's where the market's going. But interesting. So location of home purchased by first-time and repeat buyers. So very interesting. First-time home buyers, 38% of them prefer suburban subdivisions. 29% of them small town, 17 rural area, only 14% were in urban areas. Repeat buyers, and this is something we've been talking about, so we're going to define repeat buyers as me. 40% of them wanted in suburban subdivisions. So this just amplifies the competition between the two buyers. Pretty interesting.
It's fascinating.
Numbers.
I find it absolutely fascinating right now. And what I also find fascinating is this, that the inventory shortage, we're all in agreement that we're in a massive inventory shortage now.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse. You guys know why that inventory shortage is going to get worse?
Why?
Well, what do you think?
Oh, I don't want to answer that question right now.
Why the
Well,
inventory
part of it,
gets less?
'cause if anything, building is getting harder.
There's
we don't have.
small and medium-sized builders piecing out.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that. It's what I
That's-
rattled off, right? So if people are staying in their homes longer, so there's less inventory. It's coming back. It's interesting. Characteristics. This is all buyers. Characteristics of home purchased. So you had detached single family, townhomes, cottage, duplexes, and condo. Does anybody want to take a stab what the largest number was?
of townhomes.
So total percentage by distribution, in other words, total number of units closed in the last 12 months, well, that's from June to July, right, of detached, they call it detached cottages, townhomes, and duplexes, and condos is the last item. So I've kind of given you a bit of a hint. What's the largest volume of units that sold?
I mean, I would say it's the most affordable. I would say it's attached product.
80% of detached homes.
How is that possible?
I'm
In
just-
which
I'm-
market?
Well, this is
National.
nationwide.
Okay.
This
And
is
that's why,
nationwide.
yeah.
This is nationwide. This is nationwide. And what it talks about, though, in townhomes are down to 3%. And we could probably do a quick search.
I would love to see that in Central Virginia.
We can actually do
Exactly.
that, but that's going to be pretty hard to do on the fly, because as we know, our viewers and listeners are very smart.
Oh.
They will catch me if
They're
I
going to
make
see through
if-
everything.
if I make a mistake.
What do you make of what the comment Kevin Yancey just posted in the feed there, Nikki Chambless?
What was it? I didn't see that one. I was
The-
trying to catch up, but
This one that you responded to here.
oh, hold on.
It's on my Facebook page here. Then we'll get to some of these other comments. We got to a case study coming up as well.
Cool.
Oh, I lost it already, guys. Will you read it to me real quick? I'm
So
sorry.
while we
Oh,
got-
that's exactly what mortgage brokers are selling as we speak. That
Yeah.
one? Oh, yeah. So I think the conversation earlier where I was getting at was more of a, that's not what we've been selling on this show. Not any time I've been on here, right? And I realized after we stopped talking, like, you guys are talking more about what's happening in the broader community. And I just super focused in, because I do that. It's, I don't know, just ADD or whatever. But I was focused in on the, I don't know,
We're allowed to have
validity of
ADD
this
on the show, by the way.
Thank God, because otherwise I would have been gone a long time ago.
We're allowed to have ADD on the
I'm
show.
hoping it's kind of a
It makes it
superpower
interesting.
sometimes, except when it's not. But yeah, truly, I was more focused on the conversations we've had here, and I was like, well, that's not what we've said here. And you guys were more of the broader, hey, this is what everybody is saying in the bigger picture. And I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think that's the way to do it, right? Like, I think it's clickbait. I think it's very clickbait, and I'm not a fan of that in any circumstance, really.
So what are we calling clickbait now?
I don't know what.
Just whenever people are just, hey, take a phrase and they use that as their selling tool. Are we not talking about the same comment? That's exactly what mortgage brokers are selling as we speak. Buy now and win,
So
rates drop, refi. The
let's-
win being caps.
Let's pivot a little bit here, folks. So while you guys were chatting,
What'd you find?
Albemarle County. Hold on a second. I've got to turn it into a spreadsheet. Albemarle County detached and attached, right?
Please.
Year to date on that. Hold on one second here. No new construction. We're taking new construction out. We're all agreeing.
Well, if you take out the new construction, the attached product is not going to perform well.
Okay, I can put that back
The
in. then.
attached product, like, is new
No, I
construction.
got it. I don't disagree.
Because the attached product is being created as we speak.
So the other problem
Yeah.
with some of the attached product, it never makes it into the MLS.
Right.
Some deals
Yes.
never make it into them. But we'll
data's
use
not
this
Because you're
as.
saying they're selling prior to finishing. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
no, they just sell them direct, right? It never goes into the MLS on the end of it. Not all of it, but sometimes there are some transactions that do that. So while we're doing that, Mr. Miller, I'm going to ask you to read a couple of comments there while I just take this spreadsheet here and turn it into something that makes sense. for
Okay, so
everybody.
this comment's come in from Sally Sherling. She said, we bought a house about a year ago with the idea of refinancing as well. The concern we're having is our home is not maintaining the value that we purchased it at.
Really?
So when we do go to refinance, we're refinancing something that is not the same price that it was 12 months ago.
Maybe yes, maybe no yes, right?
Sally, what are you basing that on?
Yes.
Are
Historic.
you basing that on sales on your street, comps of your neighbors?
So
Please let us know that.
So historically, this is a good case study. Historically, we, as everybody knows, I've got a 21-year running spreadsheet. It's somewhere between 3 to 5% depending on where you're at. So even if you pick up 3% year over year, the issue is you're going to have to be there a certain amount of time, right? Plus you're paying down your principal, so your net profit. And this is a show that I've been working on, Jerry, because I actually have a net proceeds sheet that I work with clients that say, okay, you bought here, this is how much you've got left, this is where the market is today, right? And when you pay your closing costs, this is what your net amount comes out. It's a little complicated to do in a show scenario, but I think we can break it down into something a little bit more digestible. that we can do that. But it depends on when you bought, right? If you bought today.
If you bought at the peak of COVID,
Yeah, so I didn't bring them, we got a spreadsheet that you and I were talking about the other day, that if you bought in 19 and you have a 3% year-over-year increase, with the exception, no, actually, right, we corrected it because we had to separate out Wintergreen in Nelson County. So these things are very hard to do on the fly because they're very specific to the person, to the unit, but by and far, if you even factor in the time of great unpleasantness, your property increased in value.
here's what she's saying. She goes, we bought during the crazy time at the middle of COVID. Now the prices seem to have dropped since when we purchased.
So is it below the purchase? So is
That's what she's saying.
What neighborhood?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would need to know specifically
Yeah,
what
that's-
neighborhood, because I'm not.
it's hard to
if
know
you
case
bought in
without the specifics.
19, right? There's very
19 is not the peak of COVID.
Okay, so 20.
No.
I mean, a year ago. A
Okay.
year ago, you shouldn't need to refinance because your interest rate's not that high a year ago.
That's exactly right.
At a year
Yes.
ago, you're probably looking at, Sally, an interest rate that's under 4,
Correct.
maybe 4.5%, depending on credit score, et cetera.
And we sit still. That's
Yeah,
what you do. You sit
totally.
tight.
Hold it right
Yes.
there.
You sit tight. Which goes back to this, I think I'm going to stay in there for 18 years or 15 years or whatever it comes out to. All righty.
You found your numbers over there.
I'm working on it. So detached with new construction, Albemarle County, 1,030 units sold. I don't want to do the days on market because the new construction messes that up, and it was $620,000 was the median sales price. So let me switch over to attached here. Hang on one second. I love how smart are. 432 units. 432 attached units sold year to date. 380 was the median sales price. So there's a bunch of smart folks on the feed and listening that can do the math for me, but that's roughly 600 units more on detached. And I would have to figure out what the percentage difference is on that.
So what does that tell you?
More single-family detached homes sell more. That's historically been the case here. It's probably not matching the national numbers. I think we're probably a little higher on the attached. But Nikki, just to jump in here
Yeah.
for a second, the problem with Paragon, with the attached product, it includes these villas, and this is something I've always had a problem with. To me, attached is townhomes, right? Well, villas or duplexes. They're basically single-family detached homes with a wall in the middle of it. Those should not be in the attached product on it. So that 430.
Is that what you see in Old Trail?
Old Trail,
North
There's a
Point?
few
North Point.
neighborhoods with that.
It's a very common new construction scenario. If I pulled out new construction, I bet you that number drops pretty substantially. So, and if you just go through and look through the pictures here, you know, when you start getting up to the higher end of the numbers, there are all these duplex units. They're out in Crozet, Louisa has them. Most of the newer subdivisions has these duplex units.
How about this comment that's come in? Wow, we got a lot coming in here. This is from Kevin in Greenwood, Kevin Higgins. When you play a sizzle reel a year from now, after we are past this uncertainty, what do you think your top 3 attributes will be that helped you survive this mess? That's a question for you too, Jerry. Top 3 attributes, Nikki, to help you survive this mess that we're in.
You being everyone in general, right?
You specifically.
Me
What's going to help you
specifically.
survive this mess?
Well, truly, skill. I think a lot of anytime you're in this kind of a shift in a challenging market, increasing your skill is the way to level up. Truly. And that skill can mean all sorts of things, like leveraging your time and money. It can mean things like better knowledge about any given topic, right? There's just so much there, but I think skill really is it.
It's first of all, Kevin, how you doing today? 3 things that show up on my phone every morning at 5:30: be professional, be trustworthy, and be caring. That's the difference. You know, we're sitting here doing it, right? Live. We're having a very open and honest discussion about the market. We're not trying to scare anybody. right? But the facts are the facts, right? And how can we help people go through their life changes that they have to buy or sell? We're here to help them get through this. So that's our professionalism. We have to be trustworthy. People need to trust us. I can tell you on our side of the table, we're as busy as we've ever been. I don't know why that is.
I know why that is.
I don't want to be, so what's the word I'm looking for, Judah? So facetious, is that a good word?
I don't think that one applies here.
No, it doesn't?
That means sarcasm.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
Yeah. What are you looking to say?
What I'm looking to say is I don't want to be so...
you don't want to be braggadocious?
Braggadocious, thank you. I don't want to be braggadocious, but, we're...
I mean, you're front and center constantly in Central Virginia.
We are... We and I cannot tell you how blessed and thankful I am to everybody at this table, everybody that we work with. We are going to have, by far, our best year ever in 2022. By multiple times.
And it sounds like what you're describing here with 3 potential buyers that didn't have success this weekend that are also looking to sell their cribs to buy some new homes, that you got some deals already in the hopper for 2023.
Yeah, look, so again, the professionals will do well. The folks that are transparent, the people that can trust will do well, and the people that care, that really care about. I can't remember who chimed in.
Sally, and she's got feedback on what we talked about.
Sally, we need to care about Sally's situation and what can we do to help Sally get there. And it may be just giving information and care, and at some point that may turn into a transaction. But at the moment, we want to be professional, caring, and trustworthy. And that's how you recover from losing $17 million. Go ahead.
And Keith, I think all 3 of those have to be combined, right? You can't just have one of those and it
work
well.
No. And I'll tell you, I
have to have all
struggle
3
with
of
them
them.
every day. So I'm trying to do percentages here.
This is her feedback here. And Kevin Yancey, Mayor Waynesboro, is all over this.
It's around 50%.
She says, our interest rates aren't high, but we purchased at the most possible top of our monthly payment that we could afford.
Got it.
And we had to do that because of the craziness of COVID.
Yeah.
We were looking then to refinance potentially to get that lower payment down, and we can't do that now.
Yeah.
No.
So this is
A lot of people did that.
So this is the caring conversation that we have to have. I don't think anybody at this table can help. Right? The reality of it is the interest rates are not going to go below
what she has
now.
Yeah.
The reality also is of it, if she sells, she's only been in the home for a couple of years.
She's going to lose money. She's been at home a year.
Well, but also she would still have to find another one.
Well,
she's been home in a year. Once you factor in real estate commission and closing costs, she will lose money.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, the home values have dropped.
Is there any chance she's paying PMI? I would hope not, but if she is, that's another way to go.
Again, depending on the specific location and specific circumstances, it may not have dropped. It just may not have gone up that much. It has not gone up enough to offset the cost to close it.
Well, I mean, I don't think she's talking about selling because, as Nikki said, she has to live somewhere.
Yeah.
I think what it is,
we all pretty much
I think
need
what's
that.
happened is.
Well, I was happy for a couple of months about that because we were having the inventory ticking up a little bit. It is going the opposite direction now.
What's happened is the household budgets are completely at their stretch point.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well,
I texted, excuse me, I'm
No,
sorry.
go for it. No, go.
I filled up this morning my LP at my house just because we wanted to do it. It was what did I text? It was $4.38? $4.38
I got it right
a gallon.
here. I got it right here that you sent me.
That's insane.
400 and
No.
or $729,
For 100 and some odd.
and it was $4.34 a gallon.
Yeah, $4.34 a gallon.
He's talking propane. We guys literally, my wife, and I think she's watching, called Tiger Fuel this morning and said, "Can you please get your propane truck to us out immediately? Because the cost of propane is about to go up. Fill up your tanks now. It's not going to get cheaper this winter." That's one way where you can stretch $1 with your household budget.
So, Nikki, I apologize. I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No,
Please jump in.
the naturers were all jumping in. So I just think for Sally too, and I think for anybody out there, when you're looking at these things and you're concerned, you don't have to be ready to move to talk to a trusted advisor. Like truly, I think oftentimes we're like, oh, but I don't want to bother them. You're not bothering them. I promise you, if you are, I'm so sorry find someone you're not bothering, truly.
Well, that's that whole
I'm sitting
professional-
right next to somebody who's really great and available and helps people regardless of whether or not they're buying or not. Not Jerry. It's,
Liza.
I mean, Jerry's great, but he's also not a realtor.
Liza.
So truly, like, this is something, I've had conversations with people at all sorts of, they're not ready to do anything. They just want to have a better understanding of what their options are and where they are. And that's part of what we do, right?
We bumped into, Yonna and I went to Cunningham Creek. This is what we try to do. We try to sneak in a couple hours on the weekends because we work like Jerry and everybody at this table 7 days a week, and we play canasta.
Oh.
By the way,
nice.
Did you win?
By the way, I
You
did.
won!
I won.
This is your first time in a minute.
Yeah. I wanted to.
Yonna let you win.
Oh, thank you for not
Did
making
Yonna
me ask
let
that
you
question. Even if she did, you know what? He won. Take it.
You just ruined it for me.
Oh, she didn't let you
You let
win.
me ruin it.
She's
ruined it for
extremely
me.
competitive.
I don't think she would let anybody win. I'm just
She's
saying.
extremely competitive.
Without a doubt. So if we're not playing for points, we play for who wins hands, right?
Yeah.
And whoever wins 3 hands in a row wins. That's what that's what we play for. And I won 3 hands in a row.
Ooh.
And I went, nice job, honey. She's going, no, we're paying another hand.
Yeah, she's very competitive. She's very, very, very competitive.
And she won that hand, by the way.
I'm sure she did.
And then the rain came down, and Nikki
it
needed
did.
to leave, and
That was exciting.
but I'll tell you, I'm confident that if we played another 4 or 5 hands, I would have lost that.
But you guys had a good time.
It's what we do. But the reason I brought it up was we had at least a half a dozen people walk up to us and say, how's the real estate market? Mm-hmm. So this affects everybody, right? It's not number 2 in the state of Virginia for GDP for a reason. It is number 2. It impacts everybody and impacts everybody's lives. And all I'm trying to do here on the show is try to be open and honest about it.
Neil Williams said boomers are also staying put with their low interest rates, limiting the inventory for younger buyers to purchase.
Inventory is going to drop.
My brother-in-law and his fantastic girlfriend are in this position. The young millennial and the Gen Zer has never, I've said on Twitter, maybe in the last 80 years has had a more difficult time to purchase than right now.
So this goes back to my daughter's comment, Nikki,
Yes.
about the conflict between the 2 generations, right?
Well, no, except no one's talking about Gen Z. We just sit back and we're invisible. We are.
Well,
Gen Z?
Mm-hmm. Generally
think so?
speaking. Well, because earlier
They're the
what you
they are
asked
the
was
lowest.
boomers and millennials.
they are the lowest. If you take a look at your generational report,
We're also, generally speaking, we have the highest debt, right? It's going to be a little harder
Gen Z
for us.
is younger than millennials.
you're talking about
I
Gen
said
X.
Gen X.
Okay.
Did I not say that?
Yeah,
Oh my
you
gosh,
said
I'm so
Gen-
sorry.
yeah.
I flipped the wrong letter. Thank you
Yeah.
for catching that.
Yeah.
I did not realize I said the wrong letter.
Gen X, yeah.
I flip things sometimes.
Gen
too.
X
No,
is getting
Gen X is what I was thinking about.
Gen X
Yes.
is getting forgotten.
Well, this is what we do though. We're just let you guys fight it out.
But do you really think you have more debt? I think the
yeah.
millennials got more.
The
debt.
younger millennials and the Gen Zers have the most debt.
I would agree with that.
It's student loan debt. The student loan debt has gone exponentially higher with younger millennials and Gen Zers. They call them zillennials.
But it's an important thing to point, because Scott Morris taught me this, that they only take 50% of the debt. It's still debt, but if you owe $50,000, they're only going to count $25,000. God only knows how that works, but apparently.
But
Of the
not based
student
on the
loan debt?
data.
That's ask Scott Morris that next time he's on the show. But he's repeated that several times, because my daughter and son-in-law, who have multiple 6-figure student debt, because he's a doctor.
But that's an anomaly, though, because he's got doctor loans. The student loan debt that for doctors is not the same for the student loan debt for non-doctors.
It's amazing.
The doctor loans are incredible.
That was like, sign here.
Yeah. Well, it's because he's got massive earning potential.
Well, actually, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a president of the bank. It's not that. What they want is his private practice business. That's what they want. They want the downstream funding. They want to take care of, setting up his operations, all that kind
It
of
also
stuff.
doesn't hurt that he's going to be earning
Multiple 6 figures.
multiple 6 figures immediately, right?
Yeah.
immediately.
Well, I got to tell you, I love him with all my heart and soul. What they make them go through in residency and what that man needed to go through to become a doctor, he earned every penny.
He certainly should.
He earned every penny.
No
of
doubt
it.
about that.
Earned
No
every
doubt
penny
about
of it.
that.
So I'm trying to look at what this week was last year. Well, Jerry, you...
Nikki, what was your thought there?
Well, so what I'm finding, and I'm just doing some quick little searching while we chat, right? Because that's what I do. Google is my friend. And what it looks like is that truly baby boomers might be the highest as far as the debt, but they also had the highest wealth, right? So that balances out, which is part of why a lot of their debt's probably smarter debt, right? And some of their debt might be the millennial student loans. So there's some of that in there too.
Okay.
See, and again, some of this data is not as, it's hard to get the most recent batch of information when we're looking at these big, broad pictures.
So this same exact week, let me see if I got my dates right. Yep, the same exact week, it's 1 or 2 days off because of the year difference, right? The same exact week, last week, same car footprint, 85 new homes came on, 107 went pending. So we dropped week over week, year over year, roughly 20, let's call it 20 units. This week is showing, actually just bumped up since we started the show at 64, now it's 68. That's going to be 66 units that are currently active. So there's 20 units less week over week. In other words, this same week last year. So we're decreasing in volume.
Inventory is shrinking.
Inventory is shrinking. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Inventory
Pendings are shrinking too. Pendings shrunk from 107 to 8, that just went from 83 to 84. So these, it's live, it's moving as we speak.
I don't know if anyone read the article in the Daily Progress at the end of last week.
No.
Donna Price, fantastic supervisor,
Yep.
phenomenal supervisor. We love you, Donna Price,
Sorry,
of the
she's getting
Scottsville
off.
District. She said, undoubtedly, the real estate tax rate is going to increase in Albemarle County. It will 100% increase in Albemarle County because we're running at a deficit right now in Albemarle County.
So,
They're preparing us for
Yeah, but that's-
a hike.
so
Albemarle County hasn't risen in years. Albemarle County hasn't raised it in years.
raised what?
The real estate tax rate. And it's substantially below Charlottesville City.
The rate may not have went up, but the values went up, which meant the cash out of your pocket
Assessments went up.
Assessments
So this
went
is
up.
gonna be like
we're
a
gonna
double
have
hit.
We're going to have a real estate tax rate increase
Plus.
when assessments go up.
Plus
In a recession.
in a recession. That's exactly right. And again, I think we've been in a recession for quite some time. So, and I'm excited about Wednesday shows. It's going to be me and you, and we're going to talk about the results of the election and the impacts on potential impacts on housing. I would not be surprised, and this is me being a little bit of a Debbie Downer, I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks, all of a sudden everybody's saying, oh, we've been in a recession for a while anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
They're playing a shell game.
Yeah.
And they're playing a shell game because midterms are tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is directly from the Daily Progress article. Expenditures, Albemarle County expenditures will hit just below $470 million by fiscal year 2028. If the county's Office of Management and Budget's predictions are accurate, that will cause the county's budget deficit to balloon from $6.7 million to nearly $30 million.
That's a deficit.
Deficit.
Yeah. So taxes will go up. I know Neil will correct me if I'm wrong.
Neil's watching right now.
And he always does, and he's absolutely a genius at this. But there's been some years that it's gone backwards, right? But not very often. It tends to usually go up.
Real estate tax rate in Albemarle County has not increased since 2019. It's at 85.4 cents per hundred. Charlottesville's at 96 cents per hundred. So they're lagging roughly 10 cents.
Yes, but their values are increasing, right? So if you keep the rate the same, but your valuations go up, your assessments go up, you're paying more cash.
Yeah.
Right, you're paying more cash.
But what we saw with, and Neil, we'll get to some comments from you, what we saw with Charlottesville City was the tax rate increased at the same time assessments increase, at the same time personal property taxes increase.
And I believe the budget increased too.
Yeah, the budget increased. The budget increases pretty much every year.
Yeah, so some like our friends.
Nelson County's
About
one of
to
the
say,
few.
our friends in Nelson County went the other way. Taxes and assessed value and real estate taxes is a triangle, right?
Todd Raff, Mr. Nelson County, is watching the program. He's the gentleman from Friday.
Thank
Blue
you very
Toad Hard
much.
Cider.
Thank you very much for keeping me straight.
Todd Rath, I love the interaction we had on Twitter yesterday with a talented Esquire here in Central Virginia.
Talented Esquire.
Yeah, there was another talented Esquire that was interacting with us on Twitter. Todd Rath says this, sounds like Albemarle is on the same trade as the Fed Reserve. And he also highlights Nelson County dropped rates when our values skyrocketed in Nelson County.
They also did something with the personal property taxes too. Didn't Nelson County not raise that also? I think they did something different, and Todd will be able to fill the blanks on that. But I believe it was two-sided too. It wasn't just real estate. It was also personal property. Nikki, we've been chatting. You jump in here. What's on your mind?
No, I was just thinking about the Albemarle County, the real estate tax increase, the real estate tax relief, which is really geared toward elderly. So if you're 65 and
vets.
older, and veterans, you have to be a
Disabled.
certain,
You
I
have to
think
be
it's
disabled.
100% disabled, and it's all waived, but I don't know if there's something
I
in
think
between.
it's 70%, but that may be the federal side.
Okay, I'm not sure on that. I do know if you're 100, then you do not have to pay that, but you do have to file to get that. So that is a step that needs to be taken. But if you're 65 and older, then there are a myriad of requirements that aren't crazy outrageous. But if you're not a disabled vet or 65 and older, below a certain income.
So we talked about that on Friday with
Yeah.
Neil, or was he Captain America?
Captain America.
It was Captain America at that time. I believe it was Captain America. The problem with that is, and we're going to start talking about this on the show,
Yeah.
probably in December a little bit more. We've been talking about it. Please keep a track of your tax invoice that you get in, and that because the window is so narrow, it's only about 30 days on that end of it. And if you miss it, then you missed it for the year, and you need to start all over again. So
Okay.
please keep a close eye on the tax bill. When the tax bill arrives in the mail, read past the number, because there's actually language in there that says how do you, it's contest, Neil, help me out. It's not contest, it's challenges. There's an actual formal word that that is used for this. But in essence, you can contest the valuation. Our phones ring off the hook because, for instance, my personal home is valued way more than what the market would pay for it. Every year I fight them in Fluvanna County.
Neil Williamson says this, state code dictates assessments must be 100% of fair market value. However, it is up to elected officials to determine tax rates each year. Elections matter. I responded to Neil Williamson by saying, great comment. Economic development must be prioritized by elected officials and those also considering running for office.
So his point there is that, and Neil chime in.
It's the same thing the Commissioner of Revenue in the city of Charlottesville said. He said personal property taxes on vehicles are going to come out and hammer people, and I have nothing that I can do about this because state code determines I have to value these cars on their fair market value.
Yeah, well, that's the old can't do anything different than what the state tells you to do.
But what the jurisdictions
rule.
can do is lower the real estate tax rate and
offset.
prioritize economic development to help offset the revenue.
So Neil, Free Enterprise Forum puts out a bunch of white papers every year, and one of them is already out or is about ready to come out. I'm sure at some point in time, and Neil will chime in and tell us when that is. But he generally breaks down the percentage of each jurisdiction towards real estate versus business. In very few of the jurisdictions, the panacea is the 30%, right? 30% is what everybody wants to reach. And very few jurisdictions, at least in our area, reaches that goal. So the bottom line is it's your house and your car and your vehicles, whatever you have, which makes up a bulk of the local budget, local revenue, excuse me.
Here's the next challenging thing that's going to happen is retail, lodging, and meals taxes are down for jurisdictions. Retail, lodging, and meals taxes are down. And a lot of these jurisdictions are having to go through collective bargaining now, where employees are utilizing the power of collective bargaining to get more pay and salary. Charlottesville City is literally going through it as we speak.
Yeah, I think that's the only one that's
So
in at
if
the moment.
Albemarle County is about to go through it.
Yeah, well.
Literally. So if meals taxes, lodging, and retail taxes are down, and you have to pay employees more money, where's the money going to come from?
Taxes.
Rooftops.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you prioritize
To me, that's
economic
taxes.
development, incremental revenue.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right, Nikki? So
Yeah.
if we...
This is my bailiwick right
I
here.
love it.
If we prioritize economic development, which I agree 100% on, how long do you think that's going to take before it hits the pocketbooks of the average person?
To me, I would think that's a really long-term game, right? I mean, even if they switch today, right?
What's your question?
So what I'm trying to set up here is that this is the long, as
a long
Nikki
game.
said, this is the long game. If we prioritize economic development today, it's not going to change the impact on residential rates and housing on the residential portion of it, paying for a majority of the local budget. It's going to take years before that happens, and potentially decades.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
And why not?
Well, I mean, Alamo County just approved a designated outdoor refreshment area, Dora, for Stonefield. That's going to happen
Got it.
in 30 days.
And how much is that going to impact the budget?
I mean, it's going to drive new revenue immediately.
Without a doubt.
I mean, a fantastic band like Nikki's band can play the shops at Stonefield,
We have.
and they have.
Yeah.
And they're going to compete directly with the city of Charlottesville's Fridays After 5. And they're going to have Nikki's amazing band at the shops at Stonefield. She has incredibly talented musicians, and she's one of the best front people in all of music in the Commonwealth. People are going to sprint to her to watch her play music, and then we're going to spend money at the shops at Stonefield in Albemarle County.
So Neil, I know you're watching. What's the percentage of revenue coming from rooftops versus economic development? Let's call it commercial in Albemarle County. And what you're doing and what you're talking about is absolutely moving the needle in the right direction. But in order to pin that needle back to make some substantial impact on the rooftops, it's got to be way more than that.
100%.
And that takes believe me, local government moves.
And that's why what matters?
Elections
matter.
Well, contested elections matter.
So
I want to
far-
add contested to that because
Yeah.
we have a lot of non-contested.
We had 3 on the Board of Supervisors.
That's exactly right.
We had Jim Andrews, Ned Galloway, and Diantha McKeel run uncontested elections. Jason Howard says, will a majority of the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County be up for election before the next time they can raise the real estate tax rate, Jerry? Raising taxes by default instead of looking for places to cut spending can't sit well with people as interest rates go up, assessments go up, and the county enters a recession.
And the answer to that
Amen.
is no.
No, and you know why the answer is no?
Because the next election for local is in November, a year from now, and the budgets will be, this tax rate and stuff will be set in April or
No,
March
the
and
answer
April.
is no because Board of Supervisors is only 6 people, and 3 people only come up for election each time. So that's never a majority. Only 3 come up for election every election cycle on the Board of Supervisors.
I get that, but you're making an assumption the other 3 won't vote for it, right? So
3's not a majority. 4's a majority.
well, that's a whole Pandora's box about, odd versus even boards. I hate even boards.
No doubt, because tie means no.
It gives the no side an extra vote.
Jason Howard, you have Scottsville District, you have Whitehall District, and you have Rivanna District coming up for re-election a year from now.
Yes, but let's assume they all go a certain way and have a certain opinion. That doesn't mean the 3 that are remaining won't support them, right? So in other words, you potentially pick up 1 vote from the ones that are remaining, right? Is that making any sense?
I do not understand that.
So the fact that we're having 3 doesn't mean we're going to end up with a 3-3 board, right? We could potentially end up with a 4-2 if 3 members want to do X and one of the other 3 members agrees with X, then it gets done. So that's the argument. That's the argument for folks that like an even board, right? Because you've got to convince somebody on the other side to come to your side. 3 on 1 vote needs to convince the other side. I personally think it's disingenuous, frankly. I think 7 or 5 is a better number. Did I just confuse everybody?
I think you did.
Good.
I think you did. I think what needs to happen is the Board of Supervisors needs to figure out ways to drive revenue not associated with rooftops.
So I'm going back to how you get that done, and how you get that done is you need 4.
Business-minded people on the board.
You need 4 votes to say yes.
Yeah. You need four votes to come up with economic development ideas that are novel and new. And they did that with Dora.
Yeah.
I mean, the Stonefield Dora is an example.
So we're the current board can get there. But the question I thought was, is there going to be an election enough time to impact the next tax rate hike? And the answer to that is no.
No, that tax rate is going to happen beforehand.
So did I misunderstand the question? I thought that was the question. Is there going the next board that's going to impact that is going to be 2024?
The next board that's going to impact is going to be 2023.
No, it'll be 2024.
Or 2024, exactly. Because they'll be elected in 2023, 2024.
They'll sit
in
January
2024.
1, 2024.
Yeah.
So that is the budget that a new...
That's the one that's going to be impacted.
That can impact that. And
Right.
in my long diatribe, that's what I was trying to get to.
Todd Raff says, how a community with the #1 rated public university in the United States of America lives and thrives and has budget issues is shameful. Plus, Charlottesville itself is a worldwide tourist destination with all its rich history. Leadership, present and past, seems to be a big issue in Albemarle County. I concur.
Yeah, so we're going to,
100%.
after the election is over in December and January, we're going to go back to bringing in some roundtables of elected officials. And these are great questions to ask the elected officials directly.
What do you think, Nikki?
Nikki's got a bunch of notes.
I do. Well, I have a lot of notes, but also I think that
His feet is on fire.
when I was in the Pat Jensen Leadership Academy and I was in the state and we were able to interview, I don't remember who it was, and I'm glad I don't because I don't want to call anyone out. But I remember one of the elected officials saying something to the effect, not local, right?
This is
We're talking about state level.
State level.
Something to the effect of not really caring what the people thought because they voted for him, and so it was his decision to make. And on one hand, I appreciated and respected that thought, right? And on the other hand, I'm like, but also you're supposed to listen to your constituents. And I don't know at our local level exactly what some of those challenges are, but for me, that was okay, this is interesting. And it was just another piece to the tipping point of not only does voting matter, but really knowing what you're voting for. Because I do feel like a lot of times when people show up and they vote, it's great that they're showing up, but what do you know about the people you're voting for, right? How much time and energy are we putting into making that decision, or is it just an RRD, right? Because I think a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this in the past too, maybe don't put the time in and either vote on party or on an item, and I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can vote on just one topic that's important. I think you have to look at the overall picture.
You can make a legitimate argument, a very extremely legitimate argument, that the election of 2023 in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County is one of the most important ones in generations. 4 seats up on the Albemarle County School Board with incredibly impactful policy decisions on the school board to make in Albemarle.
I think
3 seats up in Albemarle County, 3 seats up in the Charlottesville City Council. I mean,
so
hugely important.
You're limiting it to Charlottesville and Albemarle. Flavanna has seats up. Nelson has seats up. Greene has seats up. 2023 is going to be a pretty impactful local election year
Especially
across the
since we're
board.
going to be in a recession.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
And
the
this
point
whole
here.
this whole is be interesting. I think this time next year we're going to see that from a local politics end of it, Nikki, a local economy. We're going to see the narrative very much so change, because if this recession takes a deeper dive,
It's going to.
I don't disagree with that. It's going to take a deeper dive. The conversations are going to change.
Yeah, it's going to be less
They have to.
social issues, and it's going to be more pocketbook.
So what did Mr. Carville said? What is it all about?
It's about the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, stupid.
Jason Howard, currently what percentage of county taxes come from taxes on retail sales like the shops at Stonefield? By what factor would those have to increase to take pressure off rooftops and vehicles?
And that's the question I'm trying to ask you.
Significant, they would have to increase.
Yes.
Significant,
Yeah.
Jason.
So that's I am actually on the 18th of this month. I'm speaking again at the Virginia Governor's Housing Conference, and Neil's going to sit in my seat and cover for me. Actually, Ned Galloway and myself are speaking there, which is an absolute honor. This would be a great conversation for you and Neil to have.
Yeah.
About that.
You know, one man's opinion here. Pretty good track record on these so far. After today's show, realtors watching the program, and I see a lot of you, Your marketing collateral and your marketing vision should be pivoting from millennials and Gen Zers to pursuing baby boomers. Because you're going to be able to get a double dip deal. The sell of their current house and their purchase of your next house. Realtors, hear me out. You should be going after baby boomers now.
No, you shouldn't.
Millennials are going to be
No,
priced out.
no. They should
Keith
be.
Smith doesn't want me to tell you that.
Go
Okay?
after. No, I'm gonna be.
Go after the baby
It's 100%
boomers.
right. This is what we've been telling our team for the last 3 months.
Baby boomers are the bread and butter. Second,
When the interest rates drop, it'll flip.
that's not going to happen anytime soon.
But I said if.
Yeah.
I didn't say when.
Second,
I said if.
viewers and listeners that are watching this program, realtors that are watching this program, you should be backing Board of Supervisor candidates and City Council candidates that have small business experience that are going to drive incremental revenue, economic development opportunities for the jurisdictions.
And I'll add one little item to that. Those candidates also have to understand how the system works.
Because if you're backing the current legacy candidates that are in play, you're going to get increased real estate tax rates. And that's going to make your job extremely difficult because it's going to make it very unaffordable inventory. I would write that down for all the realtors that are watching this program.
And date it and time it.
That right there is one of the best sizzle reels in the history of the network.
Best history. Interesting. There's another thing I'm tracking, which will get me very much so in trouble. I'm tracking the volume of sales impacted by agents outside of the car footprint. And it's an interesting number to track, Nikki, because historically, and I'm going back 35 years, historically that wasn't the case, right? What would happen is you would get a phone call, I would get a phone call from somebody in Northern Virginia and say, look, I've got this buyer, refer it out to you, and you take it from, they're now here, they're now listing units down in here, and I'm just taking a look real quickly at the recent solds in the last 7 days.
Well, you're looking at the ones in our MLS.
Then there's ones that are outside the MLS.
Which is very interesting and gives local realtors an opportunity to find a deal for their clients, because that was a mistake on everyone's part on the other side.
Yeah, my point to add to Jerry's point here is not only is it going to be switching to the boomer, it's where it's the economy, stupid, follow the cash.
The boomers have the money.
Right. It's also realtors have to be, did I say that right?
Close.
You said it right.
Really?
You are.
I'm going to go with him.
Both of you
I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, sorry, what he said.
But you've got to be an expert on your local market. You've got to take the time to go ahead and do this. And that's the best advice that we can give young agents or even agents that have been around for a while. Understand your market, understand what you're in very well. And I know on our end of it, if we have somebody that's going outside of our footprint that we're comfortable in, we refer it out.
Absolutely.
Right? 'Cause I can't,
all day, every day.
I'm not an expert in Lynchburg. There's no way.
Nope.
I can't give you good advice.
And there are
on that.
amazing agents there that all you have to do is give them a call or
There you
interview
go.
if you don't know them. There's
But it's
no
really
reason not to do
interesting.
that.
I've been tracking the statistics, the volume statistics,
Oh, yeah.
and it's pretty interesting stuff.
No, you're correct, and that is one of the conversations we have often amongst area agents, not only in my office but in the broader community, is dealing with those situations, because there are all sorts of aspects to that, such as different contracts. We don't use the same contracts they use.
Well, I just don't think they know the market like we know the market, but that's okay.
Nope.
I'm looking at price changes the last 7 days. I'm just curious how many of them were from out of the area.
Fantastic show today, guys.
Yeah.
Thoroughly
I think so.
enjoyed it. The feed was
It always is, though.
on
Truly.
fire.
Out of
The feed.
67 price changes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, about 15 of them were listings
Out of area.
out of area, agents listing.
Well, and I don't know about the other days. I think you guys are probably on fire on the other days too, but the viewers and the listeners on these Mondays are just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the viewers and listeners across all our shows.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they're amazing.
I mean,
Yeah.
a shout out to Todd. You know, he rocked my world on Friday.
He corrected you.
He corrected me, and
Yeah.
he was 100% right, and I was 100% wrong. You know, I just was looking at it a different way, and he educated me to look at it a better way.
I love
get
following
that.
them on Twitter and interacting with Todd on Twitter.
Numbers
Todd,
saying
you're
so.
good people, man.
Thank you,
You
Todd.
make great cider. The Monday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Any final closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we got into really some heavy stuff here today, which was a lot of fun, but the reality of it is if you need to buy and sell, reach out to a trusted advisor. We will help you, or the trusted advisors will help you navigate through this. Everybody on our partner tabs is part of that trusted advisor ecosystem, to use Mr. Miller's term. Reach out to them. They help you through the process, and we'll get there together. This is about being a professional, caring, and trustworthy.
RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. Nikki Chambless, show is yours.
Oh gosh, I thought you were closing up. I wasn't ready.
You're
no,
closing.
I think it was an amazing show. I think we covered a lot of things. I think it's always interesting hashing through some of the conversations that we have with each other, right? And understanding what the other's talking about. I love the question feed from everyone. It really engages in important topics of the moment, right? And there's always something a little different. Some of it's similar, some of it's overlapping, and week to week there's always something new, and I love it, and I appreciate you all.
I've said this more than once. People ask me all the time, why do I do this as often as I do? It absolutely makes me better at what I do.
Oh, yeah.
And so thank you. And that's us, but that's who's watching and listening. They just
So
make
much
me,
of that.
make me so much better. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Fantastic show, guys. Monday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Keller Williams Alliance. And Yes Realty Partners. Find them online, Keller Williams Alliance, and YesRealtyPartners.com. Check out Real Talk with Keith Smith, trusted advisors, Paramount, and this roller coaster ride we call life. Judah Woodcower, Keith Smith, Nikki Chambless, Jerry Miller. We'll see you in the I Love CVille show in 50 minutes. It's going to be red hot. Take care, everyone. Very nice.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
That was amazing.
I'm losing things.
Amazing.